Just a quick pre-show message, people. For reasons that will become evident, we talk about lots of photos in today's episode. Now, if you want to look at all the stuff while we talk about it, there are going to be links in the show notes, but I've also lovingly created the YouTube version of this episode so that all the photos come up on screen and do all the right things at the right time. So this is one of those episodes that may be best enjoyed watching it on YouTube. If you don't want to look at pictures at all, that's fine as well. We always remember this is first and foremost a podcast, so hopefully we talk about the pictures in ways you can easily visualize. So make up your mind, what are you going to do? It's a big decision. On with the show. In recent evenings, I have been going out late at night, taking photographs of a comet. Do you know about this comet, Comet Neowise? Can you even see it from Australia? You probably can't. I don't know.
I have absolutely no idea. I've heard of Halley's Comet. I have no knowledge of any other comets.
All right. Well, there are other comets besides Halley's Comet.
Oh, really?
Yes. And there is one that's just been cruising on by at the moment. It's been in the sky for a couple of weeks. I don't know if you can see it from Australia. You can see it okay from where I am. So I've been going out with my camera and my tripods and stuff and out to like big open spaces near the sea and trying to take like classic photos of it. And there've been other like nerds like me out at like 1 a.m. and we've been like gathering together by the seafront and talking photography and talking comets. It's been great fun. Have you not seen any of my pictures on social?
I have seen something about the sky or space or something there. It's just your usual pap.
Delete, block, mute.
I did know there has been more than usual, and I have seen you talking about a comet. Yeah. I mean, they look great, man.
If I posted some pictures of Nick Cave, would that help?
Have you got some? Is that... All right, let me ask you a few questions.
Okay. Oh, thanks, man.
What is the name of this comet again?
Neowise.
Is that your name for it, or is that its official name?
It's its official name, and I'm embarrassed. I knew you'd ask me what it meant, and I don't know, so I have to look it up now on the spot. It is a stupid name. Sorry to Mr. Neowise or whoever it's probably named after a spacecraft. Let's have a look. History. It was discovered by a team using the WISE space telescope under the Neowise program. So yeah, it was the name of a program. So there's not someone called Neowise, thank goodness. So it's named after like a program being done by a telescope in space.
And how often does this comet come? Is it a regular visitor to our solar system?
Well, that depends on your definition of regular. I mean, everyone has different definitions of regular depending on how long they live and things like that.
My only experience being Halley's Comet, which I think from primary school I remember is like 75 years or something.
Yeah, I think it is. I thought it was 76, but yeah, you're right. It's about that, yeah.
We should definitely go with your number, but
No, not
that's
at all.
regular. So
okay, well, I would say this one is probably less regular than that. This is what you would call a long period comet, and here you're looking at more like 4.5 to 7,000 years.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So this is the first time you've seen Neowise.
This is definitely my first chance, and quite possibly my last.
Okay, all right.
Any more questions?
Oh, I'm done. What else you got?
You're now a world authority on Comet Neowise.
That's right.
Let's do a test to see what you've learned. Why is it called Neowise?
It's named after that guy in The Matrix.
You really don't care that much about space stuff, do you?
Oh, no. I'm more of the look in awe and, go, wow, and then move on, rather than look up an encyclopedia and remember facts. That's right.
Rather than go out with a bunch of nerds at night and take photos of it.
I definitely am not doing that. But
No.
I feel like I'm kind of connected to it because I'm your friend. So that's cool. It's like I'm one person removed from data and facts and those sorts of intriguing aspects of reality.
I mean, that's a close connection, man. If you were at a conference and someone said, I'm the person who discovered Comet Neowise, would you say, oh, I know Brady Harron?
That's right, yeah. My friend once took a photo of that comet. I literally would probably blurt that out and they'd look at me like, great, okay.
Just a little secret between you and me. I took more than just one photo of that comet.
Yeah, I did actually notice that on Twitter.
I put hardly any on Twitter. I took a lot of photos of that comet. At one point, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to get a photo of it from a graveyard? I'll tell you what, going to a graveyard at 1:30 in the morning in the dark on your own is actually quite scary.
Oh, man. Like, hello? Have you not seen BMX Bandits? Like, is this...
I was living the BMX Bandits dream, crawling around that graveyard at night, like over all the graves and everything. It was freaky, man. And this graveyard's like inhabited by like rabbits and hares that just jump out at random times from behind tombstones.
Oh, gosh.
Like, I think they're messing with me.
Wow. Was it like Michael Jackson's Thriller where you started dancing and the rabbits and hares lined up and danced alongside you?
There was no dancing. There was much photography.
I do have a serious question about one of your photos because I noticed there was one of them. It talked about you took one. I think it was like a photograph where it's delayed shot, and you were able to capture movement. One when it was closer, and another part of it when it was further away. Am I on the right track there?
That's not the comet, because the comet, for all intents and purposes, like in the course of a night, pretty much appears stationary.
Right.
And it just moves through the sky as the Earth turns, like the moon does and the stars do.
Okay.
What you're talking about, I think, was a photograph I took of the International Space Station, because while I was there, the space station went over a few times, and that moves really fast through the sky.
Oh, yes.
So if you open the lens of the camera and just point it there, it will draw like a white line across the sky, across the stars as it goes past. So and because it's bright when it's like right overhead, and then as it heads towards the horizon, it gets like fainter. It creates this interesting effect. It looks like a streak. The line that it draws starts off thick and bright, and then thins and gets lighter and lighter as the space station gets further away. So that was.
So that looked like a comet. That's what I thought we were talking about.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a shooting star. Yeah. And but the funny thing is that effect is actually working in reverse. So it looks like it's going one way. You think the thick, bright part should be like, the head of the comet, or and everything else streaking in the distance behind it. But what's happening there is actually the opposite. It's actually, through time, it's actually getting thinner and lighter as it gets further away.
I think that's what your Twitter comment was saying, like your tweet was saying, but I only got halfway through it, which is not...
Halfway through a tweet.
Yep. And I went, oh, yeah, got everything I need out of that. I see what's going on here.
That's it. Yeah. As in, you thought it was a comet and it's a space station.
Yeah. I got
the gist. No, you didn't.
I was like, there's a comet going backwards. That's basically what he's telling me.
It's a comet going backwards with people in it. I get it.
In reverse. Reverse comet. Check. Move on. Oh, Nick Cave's got a new song tomorrow. Great.
This is a quick message to Tim's girls, who I know sometimes listen to the show. If you're ever doing anything about space at school, just phone your Uncle Brady. I'll sort you out.
Yeah.
Don't ask Daddy for help on that one. It's a reverse comet, girls. I know all about them.
Reverse comets.
Anyway, this brings me to my idea.
Oh, yeah.
I've been trying to take good photos, and I'm quite into my photography, as you know. It's just partly, I guess, because of the kind of job I do. I'm into making images and stuff, but I'm also just someone who likes photos, and I'm also a bit of a social media tart who likes posting pretty pictures.
Yeah.
So my idea for a podcast is called The Best Photo I Ever Took.
Oh, hello.
Now, I don't think this is going to require Tim levels of explanation. I think you've probably already cottoned onto how this podcast works. A person talks about the best photo they ever took.
Yeah. And I tell you, and people just love it, don't they? Don't they love telling the story of a photo?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
People love their photos.
Yep.
Now, before we talk about the best photo I ever took, what's the best photo you ever took? What are you going to submit for this?
Okay, now I see. You asked me to look up something earlier in the day, and now I see how this is all. Yeah, why this is relevant, and so
I said, what's the best photo you ever took?
Yeah,
I wasn't like sneaky about it.
No, I know. I thought your idea was going to be anyway a little bit more abstract from that, but you basically it's just, hey man, send me the best photo you ever took. Cool,
yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
Look, it's funny. I went to Instagram, assuming I would have taken some amazing snaps and maybe put them there, but there's not. And I went flicking through other places, and it's a really interesting question in the end, because there's a lot of photos that are sentimental or personal or attached to a memory, but they're not maybe great photographs. There's also, of course, a heck of a lot of fantastic photos of me, but not necessarily ones that I took, so they're disqualified as well.
Yes, they are. You're not, this is not an insult, but you're not a guy I associate with, arty or great photography. You post interesting pictures that have interesting stories behind them, but you're not someone who I think of as getting all pretentious about it or wanting to take amazing photos or trying to impress people with your clever photos. You take photos more to, just to document things and times and people, and you like a nice photo, but I don't think of you as someone who, when you go on holiday, will spend 4 hours sitting on top of a rock for the sun to be in the right place over the tree and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, heck no. No, absolutely not. But I do have some nice photos, but I couldn't share those because of the copyright with the fashion magazines that they're associated with.
Yeah.
But I get some of my best photos when I'm hanging out with you because you love taking photos, and I'll suddenly oh, that looks awesome. Hey, I look really cool there. And it's entirely the photo. You just know how to take a good photo, and I happen to be in it. But they don't qualify for this either, do they?
So before we get to some real good photos then, let's just have you submit one for the sake of it.
Well, this photo I've got here is of my mum and a microwave, her microwave. And I think this is a fantastic photo, to be honest.
This is a brilliant photograph. If you know your mum, this photo tells 1,000 stories to me. And it's also just a fun photo.
It's great. It's great because because of my mum's personality. Who my mum, she kind of looks a little bit like Mrs. Doubtfire, right? And which is
and you.
She's delightful and happy. She's the kind of mum that loves to cook for people and all that stuff. But that's the funny thing about the fact that she's so proud of her microwave.
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's not a classic French cooking sort of photo where she's proud of her amazing oven. It's it's like a 1980s microwave. Yeah. And yet mum can do things with that microwave that, are really quite impressive in suburban.
She can warm up a Milo like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yes.
She can make that microwave sing.
She can. Yeah, the amount of 2-minute noodles that have gone through that microwave. And you can see on the handle, like on the click handle to open it, how it's worn away, over the years.
It's been used so much. The amount of time I stood next to that microwave waiting for things to heat up and stood there in that corner of the kitchen. That's also right near where your phone was, wasn't it? Isn't that where you make phone calls as well?
Oh, no, it is near Mum's phone now, but no, this is in a different place to our other house because Mum's moved. But it looks...
What, this photo that you sent me is not in your old house. This is in her new house.
No, yeah.
She's still got that microwave.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
We got that microwave, right? That was given to us as secondhand from a gift from someone who was upgrading in the 80s, 1987.
It was already outdated then.
It was secondhand in the 80s. And we've had that. And this photo I took only about 5 years ago, right?
Oh.
So that thing is still going. And look, Mum's so proud of it. I was amazed when we got it. It felt like it was a space station, it was just so exciting and modern and 1980s, and we weren't the sort of family that had that sort of cool stuff.
Has it ever had maintenance?
No, I don't think so.
No?
We probably should get it looked at.
No, don't touch it. The thing will fall apart. Don't jinx it.
So Mum's delighted and she loves it and it's a big part of her and, yeah, it's been there for a long time.
It looks like it was taken in the 80s, maybe because of the microwave or because... Is that real fruit on top of it or plastic fruit?
No, it's real fruit. Yeah,
okay. Okay. Right,
yeah. It does have that 1980s cookbook kind of sheen to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got a sort of yellow... It looks aged. It looks like a picture of an old picture.
Well, I probably put a filter on it or something, but it does... It does look...
Auntie Dawn filter.
Yeah, it is.
That's a cool name for a filter, Auntie Dawn.
It's just that nice 1980s kind of, bland sort of analog looking thing, it's...
Yeah. That is a cracking photo. What did you take it with? Did you take it with one of those box brownie things or?
No, it's just the phone. Yeah.
You ruined it.
I do have a whole bunch of really cool old sort of 1970s and 60s and 80s sort of cameras and stuff from mum and dad from years ago, and I've just kept them all, and they do look pretty cool, that old sort of stuff. And I might sort of display them one day or something like that, like this looks like the kind of photo that would have been produced in that era by mum on one of her photos, yeah.
What was your mum's specialty in the microwave? What was her, like, go-to meal? What does she really work her magic with?
Well, she did a lot of reheating of leftovers, and that was
oh yeah, she actually brought out didn't she bring out a cookbook of reheating?
I feel like we were the family that were always having leftovers. Like I never remember having a meal for the first time. It's always like
where was the primary source for this food?
I don't know. It just felt like it just went on and on. It's like, oh, got leftovers tonight. A few, and you don't care when you're a kid. It's like, oh, great, chops. Like, throw them down. I think Mum did curried sausages in it, actually, when I was a kid. I haven't had them a long time, but I'm pretty sure they were done in the microwave. Let me just add a health warning. Not that I recommend cooking curried sausages in the microwave for anyone out there. It's just...
or anything in that microwave. Great photo.
That's
great microwave.
Maybe the best photo I ever took. And the good thing about this photo, I'll probably have it forever, and it'll be more sentimental as the years go by.
I think the microwave will outlast the photo.
What I should do is I should print it out and actually frame it and sit it on the microwave. So Mum and I'll take a photo again of Mum and the microwave with the photo of her in the microwave.
I mean, that's such a good photo, Tim. I consider the microwave to be a memento of the photo.
People will bid for this microwave one day because of the legendariness of the photo.
Oh, it's great. It's a great microwave.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Definitely, there's definitely got to be some unmade merch around that microwave somehow.
I think it's time I bought Mum a new microwave.
I hope you're joking.
Well, maybe we'll keep this one just as sort of like a work of art, like a sculpture, modern art sculpture.
No,
in the
it needs to keep going. You know how like there are people who are like really, really old but they keep working, and then when they retire, they like die a week after they retire. I think that microwave might be like that. The only reason it keeps working is because it has to work.
It has to work. That's right.
And if you took away its reason for being and retired it and replaced it, it would just like fall apart like the car in the Blues Brothers.
Well, yeah, that's true. So even the food is holding it together. It's will to live.
It's a will to reheat.
It's a semi-reheat, let's be honest. Like it's
You wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for that microwave, Tim.
No, I know.
Or you'd be much healthier.
Because this is a microwave that meant I started calling 2-minute noodles 4-minute noodles because
4-minute noodles. 4-minute uncooked warm noodles. 4-minute noodles. I have to be honest, it is the only microwave I've ever known that you have to put wood in. Tim, go out the back and cut some wood for the microwave.
I've got some wood for the microwave.
It's coal powered. All right. Well,
when it finally retires, climate change will take a giant leap towards resolving, I think.
I think the reason there's so much global warming is because of the heat leaking out of the poor shielding on this microwave.
Yeah, I think it's although Mum just seems, fitter and better than ever, so.
Yeah. Well, she's getting superpowers from it.
Well, that's right. Maybe Mum has superpowers that I don't know about. Like, what if she can turn herself invisible and we just don't know that sometimes she's like around and stuff?
Maybe the microwave stopped working years ago and it's just your mum's superpowers that warms the food up. She doesn't even realise it. She thinks it's the microwave.
It's just like her brain says, now warm, presses the button. It's just a glorified cupboard. Oh, dear.
I didn't intend to talk for so long about your mum's microwave. I know what you're about to ask me now, Tim.
Man, what is the best photo you've ever taken?
Oh, man.
Oh. I'm sorry to spring it on you like this.
I'll tell you what, I've never inflicted such self-torture on myself
Oh, yeah.
to try and choose one photo. You know how, like, if I said to you, tell me your favourite song of all time, you would get all wrought and say, no, I can't choose just one, and you'd tell me, like, 19 different songs you like, and you wouldn't stop talking for an hour.
I've got a list right here, actually. But
yeah. Exactly, just in case. That's me with photos, because I make images for a living.
Yeah.
I'm naturally interested in photos anyway. I'm really interested in exotic, interesting locations. Mm-hmm. I really make an effort to visit lots of interesting and exotic locations, like, Mount Everest and Antarctica and Bhutan and all these places. So I go to lots of places that I would argue it's almost impossible to take bad photos in.
Yeah.
And I'm also a bit of a social media tart who loves posting pretty pictures. So I have like a billion photos that I'm really attached to, and choosing one has just made my head explode. And I'm like, oh no, but what about that one? And what about that one? But I don't want to be that guy who cheats and lists like 10 photos, because that's not a fair move. And that's against the spirit of the idea. I just want you to know the pain I'm going through to just talk about one photo. It kills me. I may post a secret list of my top 100 photos. So the one photo I'm going to choose to nominate is, I'll send it to you now. Should I send it to you as a text or an email?
Email it. Oh.
What are you looking at?
Wow. It's my mum and a micro. Oh, no, hang on. No, there's an... Okay, so I'm looking at what looks like the top of a mountain range. There's a beautiful, brilliant, clear sky, and
a night sky.
A night sky. And what is that? The Southern Cross, or is it just a coincidental? Probably not where you are.
I don't believe it is the Southern Cross. I see what you're talking about. It does look like there's a bit of an asterism there of a cross, but I don't think it's the Southern Cross.
But it's a heavily sort of granite or rocky area. It's obviously up very, very high. It's you and a friend. I can't see who it is. It's two people. I can't see that it's you either.
It's not me, actually. It's two people, but yeah.
Two people, and it says 8848. But it's like when you've got, it's similar to before. You open the lens and you move a light around. Is that right? And then it captures the shape of what you're drawing, and you've got 8848. So I'm going to guess, is that feet high, 8,000, which would be that would be Everest. Is that right?
So what you're looking at is indeed in the background, that collection of mountains. There's a collection of mountains in the background. They're covered in snow. And sort of, if you draw a straight line up between the first two eights, you sort of see a highest point that's peeking over the ridge.
Right.
Not the peak on the right, the highest point above those two eights that just sort of peeks over the ridge.
Yep.
That's the top of Mount Everest.
Oh, right.
Which is 8,848 meters high.
Right. Meters, yes, of course. Okay, yep.
So this picture was taken on a walk to Everest. We're on the way there. And those two people you can see who are lighting themselves with a torch are our Sherpa guide and porter who was carrying our bags, Buddy and Chandra. And my brother-in-law who was on the trip held his headlamp in his hand and wrote the number 8848 in the air next to them, and then leapt out of the photo behind the rocky wall before he was exposed long enough to reveal him. So he's not in the picture. But the 8848 he wrote with his torch is left sort of hovering in the photo underneath the mountain. So there are two Sherpas that helped us get to base camp, Mount Everest in the background, other mountains in the foreground, a rocky wall in a field, and a night sky. And that's the photo I've nominated.
That's a great photo. That's a very good photo. Let me just ask, there's nothing artificial? There's nothing manipulated on the computer when you got home? This is the shot?
Nothing at all. That is the raw shot out of the camera. Nothing's been filtered. Nothing's been adjusted. It's not a perfect picture in terms of focus and exposure, and it could have been done better, but it's a perfect storm of things I like, because there's the space, the night sky, there's Mount Everest. It's a cool photo. Like it's got a bit of everything. I will talk about this photograph more later on, Tim. I have more to say about it, so I won't talk about it too much now.
Oh, okay. I'll park it there.
Park it there for now.
It is beautiful.
Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, though. Last night, knowing I was going to do this idea, I put a message out to our Patreon supporters, and I said to them, what's the best photo you ever took? And an overwhelming number of listeners responded with the best photo they ever took. I've created a web page with almost all of them on there. Not all of them because I was a bit overwhelmed. But if you want to go and have a look at the best photos ever taken by Unmade Podcast Patreon supporters, I will include a link. But I thought we would talk about a couple of them now, maybe, because I think
Cool.
I think they're pretty awesome. Shall I point out a few of my favourites, and then we can talk about any that might catch your eye too?
Yep, I'm opening it up. There we go.
Let's start with two photos here from someone called Marcel and Ryan.
Yeah.
Because coincidentally, I think they have sent photos of the same mountain, and that mountain is the Matterhorn, which is one of the most striking looking mountains in the world.
Where's the Matterhorn?
It's in Switzerland, isn't it?
Ah, okay.
It's probably on a border. So many mountains are on borders, but it is on the border. It's on the border between Switzerland and Italy.
Oh, yep.
Okay, now Marcel's picture is taken at night. He is a somewhat better night photographer than me, as you probably gleaned.
That is unbelievable.
He's taken, I'm sure there's some processing involved there. I'm not sure. I think there is, because I noticed that the stars reflected in the lake are slightly blurred. I've got lines, meaning they would have had a long exposure, but the stars in the sky are more point-like, which makes me think it's a short exposure. I don't know if he's combined exposures there. I don't know. I'm not going to...
But hang on, what if they're reverse comets? What if
They could be,
happen
or thousands of space stations all at once, maybe. I don't know.
Indeed, yes.
Marcel's obviously a good photographer because he says, it was a difficult decision, but in the end I chose the picture that came into my mind first when reading the post on Patreon. A photo of the Matterhorn under a beautiful night sky with a band of the Milky Way behind it. So that band you're seeing there is the Milky Way, obviously.
Yep.
A big fan of mountains, photography and astronomy. This photo has long been a dream of mine. He writes a lot more about how he took it and what went on, so you can go and have a read of that if you like, people. And just below that on the webpage, team, we have Ryan. Ryan took this photo just in February on a trip through Europe. He doesn't say it's the Matterhorn. I'm just assuming it is because it looks like it. I could be wrong.
Does, yeah.
He says about his photo, I took it and it is now on my iPhone, Apple Watch, and is my default Teams Zoom meeting background. And I don't blame him because it's a wonderful picture as well. This one's taken during the day. But
Fantastic. They both could pass for the default Apple screensaver, or background rather.
The next photo we're going to look at involves the panorama feature on a camera, and a few people have used the panorama in creative ways that we'll talk about. This first one is from Spencer. He's taken a picture of a church. He's used the panorama vertically, so we see the church and the ceiling all in one. It's a very, very long vertical photo. I don't know what the church is. Is it one you're familiar with?
Do you know, I'm no connoisseur of these things, but I think I do know which church this is.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that it might be the Brompton Oratory in London.
Okay.
And it's a Catholic church. It's right next to another church called Holy Trinity Brompton. It's a beautiful church, and I was in there a couple of years ago, and I just love it. And do you know the reason I went in there, this is a funny coincidence, is that Nick Cave has a song called Brompton Oratory, and I went to have a look inside it.
All right.
But I could be wrong, but it looks very similar. It's like a big vault. But of course, I mean, gosh, yes, I could be wrong. I was only in there for a few minutes.
There are a lot of fancy pants Catholic churches with nice ceilings around the place, but I don't know. You may be right. Spencer didn't say. So Spencer, let us know. Is Tim right?
Let us know. Yep.
But also using the panorama was Clara, and this is an interesting one. She says, I took this intending just to take a panoramic picture with my iPhone of a lovely rainbow on the farm where I live in the US state of Virginia. I was startled to see a flash as I panned, and this is what resulted. I'd been thinking of going out into the field for another shot, but abandoned this idea, lest I die from another lightning strike. So this is a wide picture of almost a full semicircle of a rainbow, and going right down the middle of the picture, like almost in a perfect straight line, is the crack of a lightning bolt, sort of almost perfectly bisecting the rainbow. Actually, it's a double rainbow now I look more closely. This is one where luck was on Clara's side.
Yeah, that's incredible. Really incredible. It's so perfectly positioned. It's almost like it's the crease in a page opening up of a book.
It does. It does. That's exactly what it looks like. It looks like a book that has been opened wide. Yeah, good call there, Tim. And another very interesting panorama picture that I think you might like from Jason.
Oh, well, look at this. This is a whole stream of teddies and toys and dolls, and then Jason's daughter. And they're all lined up in a way that's kind of fun and creative. So you actually have to look closely to realize, oh, there we go. There's the daughter there. That's great.
This is a photo of my daughter with her dolls I took a few years ago. We were playing and the idea came when they were somewhat laying in a row. The iPhone had a new feature called panorama mode, so it was a good opportunity to make use of that mode. I like the composition and the way she looks in the camera. If I were to take the photo again with all the dolls now, I would have to climb a really long ladder to fit them all in one photo.
It is lovely the way that they're all upside down and then the daughter is the right way up and looks creative. You can see that, being a nice photo on the wall with a balance of colours. Lovely. Beautiful.
Well done. All right, Tim, this next photo has been sent by Jake. And I'm curious what you might think of this one, because one of the few things I imagine you do occasionally enjoy is a bit of gig photography when you're out seeing a band. And this is what Jake's done here.
Yeah.
I'll read what Jake said about his first. This is what I consider the best photo I ever took, which interestingly is the result of me being a bit of a crap photographer. It's a picture of my favourite band, Baby Metal, during their show in San Francisco last year. I had a normal ticket for the show, but was given a VIP ticket by another fan and ended up in the front row. I took a ton of pictures, but I really like this one because of the blurred effect it has, which is the result of a very delicate technique called not holding the camera steady. I think it adds a very cool feeling of motion and energy to the photo. So this photo is sort of all pink and purple, and the members of the band seem to be dancing, but because of the movement involved, they kind of look all shaky, but it makes it look really dynamic and cool. And
it is. I think the key to a photo like this, because I've also taken a lot of photos in gigs and people are moving around, which is part of the effect, but at least one part of the photo has to be still. You need a little bit of clarity to set off the rest. And he's got that here because the girl closest to us has you can see her eyes and her face, quite well. And yeah, it's good.
What's the best gig photo you've ever taken? Do you remember any? Have you taken a few?
I've taken two that I really liked. One was of the band Midnight Oil back in the 90s. And that was one where, when you submit your film at, the chemist or Kodak or whatever, and you get them all back. And on one of them, which just looked really good, or everyone looked really great on the stage, there was a little sticker saying, recommended good shot. Basically, this is a really good one, though, and they sort of were recommending maybe you get that one, framed or expanded or something.
So for all the young people listening who are completely dumbfounded by what Tim just said, there was a time when we used to have to take our film to the shop from the camera.
That's right.
and have them printed. And then eventually they cottoned on to the fact they could make more money out of us by getting us to get reprints of our best pictures. So they'd put a little sticker on any pictures they thought you might want to consider for reprinting from the negatives, which is very clever because you get flattered and want more copies of it, but also reminds you how kind of freaky it was that someone else was looking at all your pictures. Yeah,
that's the funny thing, isn't it? That they would look at them and do them and then hand them back to you. And gosh, it's strange now. The other one was more recently, and again, I'm now mentioning Nick Cave the third time in this episode. Right at the end of a show about 5 years ago, he climbed out sort of onto people's shoulders and just sort of stayed there in one position and sang a very slow song, just sort of holding on and sitting on people's shoulders and people's arms, and it was just intense. And I just happened to I was quite close. I took a bunch of photos, and they're all pretty rubbish, except for one that just came out looking really great of him there, sort of on people's shoulders, and I really like that one. Yeah.
Nice work. Now, look, there are lots of great photos that we could talk about here, but I guess we better crack on. Do go and have a look at them. I'll give some honourable mentions in a moment. But, Tim, were there any that you in scrolling caught your eye or you wanted to give an honourable mention to? Or
Ooh, little honourable mention. There's one of just a table full of food, and I just think it's just marvelous. It's a whole range of it. I love the colors and I love how busy the photo is. And that's, again, we used to have a lot of placemats and posters like that in the 1980s with a whole bunch of food up in our house for some reason, which was generally a sign of you're not getting anything for dinner that looks as great as that. Yeah. The other one that I actually really like is by a guy called Nick, and he's in a lift in Berlin. In the Reichstag, no less. And he's taken a photo with a proper camera, and there's someone standing to the side looking somber.
This is what Nick said. I believe I snapped in the Reichstag elevator in Berlin in 2011. Actually, I was in that elevator not long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You get this elevator to go up to the roof where they've got this really cool complex up on the roof of the Reichstag, which is sort of where the parliament is in Germany.
That's not you on the left, is it there? No.
That's not me. I chose it because of the strange combination of moods in the solemn suited guy to the left in contrast to my goofy friend and myself. I remember taking this picture hastily, but I'm very happy and proud of the result. It's a precious memory of my younger self and of what we did back then. Also, the green above my head is a nice little artifact of the infinite mirror. So Nick has taken like a selfie with a DSLR camera, so the camera's obscuring his face, and he's taking it of the mirror in the elevator. So you see him taking the photo, you see the lift attendant just sort of looking very serious next to the buttons, and his friend on the other side, and you see them reflected to infinity in the bouncing mirrors of the elevator. Very cool picture. Very cool picture.
It is a cool picture. And the reason I think I like it, not just that it looks cool, but I know that effect with the mirrors on either side is quite a common one. You know, kids love it when we get in a lift like this. But for some reason, the casual nature of the way he's holding the camera so directly right in the middle of the photo and his friend looking relaxed, it works. It really works. It doesn't look posed. It's a great photo. I like it a lot. Let
me give a few honourable mentions. I'm just going to skip through these. People can go and look them up themselves or see them on the screen if they're watching the YouTube video. But I wanted to say I liked the drone pictures from Andrew and Tadas. Joshua Tree from Alex. I'm sure Tim will look at that one later, being a U2 fan. There were lots of dogs and cats and bees, some really good ones. Bees were a common theme, as were rainbows. I really liked the submarine pictures from Will. Thank you very much. I was very excited by them. Madeline with her horse sticking a tongue out I liked. And I also liked Erasto's picture, which is the last picture on the page of his grandparents. I think Tim will probably like this one too. He says, I know that technically it isn't very good, but those are my late grandpa and grandma, and the picture captures perfectly the feeling of the days when they used to take us out for lunch. And it's just a picture of these two elderly people walking off into the distance along a sidewalk. Looks really common and everyday, but when you know what it means to him, so often it's the meaning of pictures that mean more than the composition.
Oh, indeed. Marvellous. Beautiful.
Please go onto Reddit and social media and share the best picture you've ever taken, because we'd love to see it. There you go. That was an idea.
I think that's a good idea. So your podcast idea, they'd share the photo and they'd talk about how they came to it, the story behind it, where it came from, what it reflects, why it's their favourite, or why it's the best they ever took.
You could even do it sort of Desert Island Disc style, couldn't you, and have like a celebrity guest come on and do like their 5 favourite. But I like the challenge of choosing one. Yeah,
that does make it, because you really have to make the decision whether you go with the sentiment or whether you go with the precision or the competence. You know what I mean? Like because I know particularly you, someone like yourself who loves photography, you'd be tempted to go to show something that shows your skill or that really came off after hours of planning, as opposed to something else that was just like a snap and just happened to work.
Or there's also the bragginess component. I want to show you a cool place I went or a cool adventure I had. So there are lots of competing human emotions here when choosing just one photo.
Yeah.
What do where am I going with this? But shall we do a sponsorship message?
We shall.
Today's episode has been brought to you by Nick Cave. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't been. No.
Hey, you mentioned him first, okay?
Okay. Actually, very appropriately, today's episode is in fact being brought to you once again by Storyblocks. And the reason that's appropriate is because Storyblocks is a website, service, archive of video, audio, and photographs which you have complete access to use in your own creations, your own websites, your own videos, your own sort of projects you're up to. You can use them royalty-free just by paying a monthly subscription. It's a fantastic resource. I'm using it at the moment and absolutely loving it. I mean, potentially you could go into the Storyblocks archive of images and post them on social media and make yourself look like a way better photographer. I don't know what the ethics are there, but it certainly is permissible. But I thought maybe we should have a quick look at the image archive, look at some of the great photos they have, Tim, and see if there's any that we like.
Oh, absolutely.
By the way, if you do this, make sure you go to storyblocks.com/unmade so that when you go to Storyblocks, they know you came from us. I'm going to search for the Matterhorn, seeing we were talking about the Matterhorn.
Can I ask you a question while you're doing that? Do you have any sentimental attachment to Mount Kosciuszko?
I have no sentimental attachment to Mount Kosciuszko, which is the highest mountain in Australia, but I do have a fascination with it. I've never seen it. I've never been there, but I do have an obsession with highest points in a country or a state. The fact I've never been to Australia's highest mountain does gnaw away at me a little bit. What about you?
Well, it's always been in my mind because I went to Kosciuszko Street Primary School. There's always a funny connection you feel to it as a kid.
Yeah.
But I've never been there. It was a fun word to say, Kosciuszko.
It is a fun word. Here we go. There is a fantastic picture of the Matterhorn here in the Storyblocks image archive. High resolution. It's like nearly 5,000 by over 7,000 pixels. You could download that one in a jiffy and put it in your next brochure or on your website, or, tweet it out as a picture you love. I'm not saying you should say you took it. In fact, I'm sure it would be wrong to say you took it, but you could just share it. You could make it part of a project.
You could just say, yeah, here's a cool photo.
Here's a cool picture from Storyblocks.
Yeah, that's from Storyblocks.
I've now slipped over to the video side of Storyblocks and searched the Matterhorn, and they have some amazing Matterhorn videos. Really good. Like with lakes in the foreground and all sorts. So if you were making a film about mountains or the Matterhorn, or just a little YouTube video where you wanted to show amazing scenery, get on there. Get on Storyblocks. Download it. It's yours to use. Storyblocks.com/unmade for all your archive, stock video, sound, and image requirements. Thank you, Storyblocks, for supporting this episode. So, Tim, I have another idea involving photos.
Oh, hello.
This is actually an idea that I've had almost since day one of the Unmade podcast, and hopefully I don't think I've actually ever got around to doing it. I know we do lose track a bit of all the ideas we've done now after all these episodes, but I don't think I've done this one. And I'm finally going to unveil this idea now. It's probably not the world's most original idea, but I felt like it was. And this is called A Picture in 1,000 Words. And the idea of this is you have a budget of exactly 1,000 words to talk, describe, to go through a single image, obviously riffing on the cliche that a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Are you given the image and it's a challenge, or do you have to find an image?
You choose the image, and
right.
I am going to do a demonstration for you, because I am going to use that image we had earlier that I took at Mount Everest.
Right.
And I have written exactly 1,000 words about the story of that image, and I would like to read it to you now.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of a radio show on the BBC called From Our Correspondent, but this is where like foreign journalists will talk about an issue in the country they report from, but they're always very pre-written and scripted. It's not like recorded out in the field. It's a radio show, but it's not recorded out in the field. It's recorded in a studio. And I've always found it quite an odd thing to listen to. My wife really likes it. I always thought it strange, because it'll be something like, I went into the house where the old man was curled in the corner and the fan was whirring in the background. And they always paint this amazing picture. And I always think, well, why aren't you recording that? Like, why are you telling me what happened after the fact? But it's just the genre of that show. It's probably a throwback to an era where recording equipment couldn't be carried around very easily. And they've just kept with the genre. So this has got sort of a From Our Correspondent feel about it, where I'm telling you about an incident rather than recording the incident itself.
Okay, all right.
So this is 1,000 words I've written about my Mount Everest picture.
So just clarifying, you're not on Mount Everest at the moment saying this. You're at home recording it.
I'm at
We're
home.
Clear.
Here is exactly 1,000 words about that picture. This picture was taken in the Himalayas on April 22, 2013. I was in Nepal trekking to Mount Everest Base Camp with my brother-in-law Werner. It was the second time I'd done this trek, having done the identical journey with my wife the previous year. I wanted a second dose, and my mountain-loving bro-in-law was turning 40. Seemed like a good excuse. Our guides on this occasion was a chap named Buddhi, and our porter was Chandra. These are the stars of this photo, as I will soon explain. Each day of the Everest trek, we would edge higher and closer to our destination, and at night we stayed in various lodges, or tea houses as they're known, on the route to base camp. These evenings in the tea houses were lovely. You could rest your aching legs and feet, eat some food, and just relax by the fire. Buddy and Chandra became dear companions, and in the evenings we'd chat, learn more about Nepal and the Everest region. I should point out Buddy did most of the talking, as Chandra didn't speak much English. But I did introduce Chandra to Angry Birds on my iPad, and he bloody loved it. Each night after dinner, I could see Chandra eyeing up my iPad, and I'd crack it out for a game. The four of us played together, each taking a turn at the catapult. But enough about iPads. This trek was all about mountains. And the walk from the notorious Lukla Airport to the foot of Mount Everest takes in some of the biggest and most spectacular on the planet. The Everest Massif itself, which also includes the world's fourth highest mountain, Lhotse, is the final destination. But before you get there are plenty of other giants, including Amardublam. Amardublam is not the tallest, topping out at 6,812 metres, but it's one of the most beautiful, a perfect peak that would look at home on the Paramount Pictures logo. As you edge closer to Everest, the famous summit starts peeking out at various locations, although it is nestled amongst many other snowy summits which obscure the view. And this brings us to the photo I'm speaking of. You see, on one of the evenings, we'd reached accommodation that afforded views of the Everest Massif, the cluster of peaks that are essentially joined into one huge uplift of rock and snow. The snow and ice that collect in this bowl of mountains flow down in the form of glaciers, namely the Khumbu Glacier on the Nepal side and the Rongbuk down into China and Tibet. Everest, of course, is the highest of the peaks in the Massif, but other mountains are really mushed up against it. In fact, here's something few people realise. Everest and its neighbour Lhotse differ in height by about 300 metres, but you can traverse from one summit to the other via a saddle which joins them, and you wouldn't need to descend more than about 600 metres in altitude. That saddle is called the South Col, for those who've heard it spoken of. Now, on the afternoon we arrived at this particular tea house, the Massif had become shrouded in cloud, as is often the case in the afternoon. But by the evening, the clouds had cleared and the giants were clearly visible. The moon and stars, combined with a liberal covering of snow, made it stand out on the horizon. Everest itself only barely peeped over the top of her surrounding sisters in the foreground, but she was there to see. I went outside with my DSLR camera and tried for a few pictures using a slightly longer exposure to allow for the stars. Werner joined me, wearing a headlamp over his beanie. Then Buddy and Chandra came out, probably to check we were not getting ourselves into trouble. It was cold, but we were well rugged up. I'd seen photos in the past where people had used lights and sparklers to write things in the air. On a dark night and with the right camera settings, the person holding the torch will never receive enough photons to be revealed themselves, but the moving light leaves its trace on the sensor. I had Werner go out into a field, Everest in the background, and use his lamp to write the number 8848, Everest's height in metres. When he had written the number, he would leap behind a stone wall, so he was in no place long enough for the camera to reveal him. We did it a few times. Vern is an artist by trade and had a real knack for conjuring numbers in the thin air. We looked at the photos on the screen. Buddy and Chandra were intrigued. They'd seen 1 million tourists take 1 million pictures, but this seemed like a new trick to them. I invited them to pose in the next picture. A couple of Sherpas would add a bit of scale, colour and character to the composition. After the first try, it was clear we needed just a little more light on them, but not the overpowering flash of my camera. So I asked Buddy to hold his own torch by his chest, throwing some light onto him and Chandra. Werner then went to work with his mid-air writing and once again leapt over the stone wall. The result was a photo that remains dear to my heart. There are Chandra and Buddy huddled by a stone wall and posing in the cold night. Behind them, framed by 2 foreground slopes, is the world's highest massif, its mother Everest just visible among the white jagged fangs. The sky is full of stars, and hovering in the air, almost by magic, are the numbers 8848, a strange yellowy and orange apparition. No filters, no Photoshop, just some fun and games on a trek in the mountains, and further adventures await us. 1,000 words. A picture in 1,000 words.
Nice. Nice work. Well articulated. Nice storytelling. Beautifully done. Yes, yes. Very good. It would be interesting to know the difference between hearing that before seeing the photo. That, I think, would be quite an experience. The reveal at the end would be, there we go, compared to the mind's eye.
Do you think that's the way to do it? Do you think it's best to see the photo while listening, have seen the photo beforehand, or not see the photo to the end?
It did work that way. I sat here looking at it as you were describing it, and that certainly worked. But I just wondered about the other way, the big reveal at the end.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I did think about that.
It has the potential, of course, to be, no, I was imagining, the ocean or, like something totally different. But It worked this way. Yeah.
So were you looking at it while I spoke?
I did. I just stared at it the whole time you spoke. Yeah. It was quite absorbing.
All right. Well, next I want to hear you do 1,000 words on your mum and the microwave.
I think we did more than that before.
I want exactly 1,000 words in the next episode.
Are you being serious?
I am. I'd love it.
Oh, wow. Okay. I can get into the reflection as well. You can see all sorts of... Actually, there's some... Yes, no, I can see some greater depth and insight into it now.
Play it how you want. I think the thing with this idea, like in general terms, is there are different ways to play it. Like you can go into the technicalities of how you took the picture. Like you could go into things like, focal length and exposure time and like what kind of camera you used. Or you can go into like the emotion of it and the story about it. This is my mum. I love her. She used to make me baked beans. You could talk, you could be funny, you could be serious. There are so many ways that you could tackle this issue. And I think that would be the beauty of the podcast, just to have one photo and all the different ways people do it with this constraining factor of the 1,000 words based on the picture is worth 1,000 words cliche.
You also have the dimension of asking the subject as well, if they wanted to comment on it, and that could be included too.
Maybe your mum should write the 1,000 words and deliver it. That would be quite an experience.
Yes. There could be a lot of pauses and a lot of
Oh no, she'd have it written. I wouldn't let her freestyle.
Oh, right, okay. Wax lyrical.
We'd never keep her down to 1,000 words in that case.
Well, maybe I'll invite her to have a contribution as part of my...
Have a think about it. You can let us know next episode. So, Tim, I've gone so long today with my ideas. I think we'll save your idea for next time and just jump straight to a Patreon idea because we love hearing ideas from our Patreon supporters. And we've got a good one today.
There's been a very good strike rate on the quality coming out of the patron ideas lately. No question.
They are making us look bad. They're making us look bad. And today we have Dominic. Hello, Brady and Tim. My name is Dominic and I am from... Time for Tim to guess.
Israel.
No.
That was last time.
It's not Canada, but it's not far from Canada. He is from Michigan in America.
Michigan, lovely.
I'm a university student studying computer engineering. Brady may be interested to hear that I'm currently in an internship testing the computer programs that control various systems on airplanes. Dominic obviously knows that I like airplanes. The tests have to be very comprehensive, covering many different states of all the sensors on board. So when the work gets tedious, I listen to the Unmade podcast. So
rather than concentrating. Dominic, you should really be concentrating.
Dominic, press pause now and go and check those sensors again.
Yes.
No laughing, no joking around, no Tim's mum's microwave, no Nick Cave stories, no Brady pretentious essays about Mount Everest. Get straight to those sensors and check they're working. I could be flying on your plane one day, if I ever get to fly again. Now, here's his idea. In my free time, I like to play the cello, which brings me to my podcast idea I call Two Flutes and a Lie. It's a play on the game Two Truths and a Lie, where people have to guess which facts about yourself are true and not. In this podcast, there would be a host and two guests. One guest would be a musician and would record a small solo on their instrument. Then both guests would talk about the solo and the instrument, trying to convince the host that they were the one who played it. The host and the listeners would try to guess who the real soloist is, and after it is revealed, the guests could truthfully talk about themselves and what they do, etc. Overall, I love the Unmade podcast. Thank you for continuing to make such wonderful content. Cheers, Dominic.
Now, I might be a bit slow, but I need this explained to me again.
Might be. So this is how it would work, right? There would be a host, and then say you and I were the guests. A piece of music solo would be played. For example, say this one.
Jeez, I walked into that.
You did. I can't believe you didn't. All right. And then what would happen is the guest would say, okay, thank you for playing that solo. Which one of you played it? And then both you and I would talk to the host, and both of us would claim that we are the musician.
Yes.
I'd say, oh, yeah, I've been playing the guitar since I was 15, and I did this, and this is why I played it. And then the other one would do it. And the host, and in turn the audience, has to figure out who's lying and who's telling the truth.
Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
There's a good show about this. There's Would I Lie to You on TV, which is from the UK, actually.
Yeah. But there's also the famous Get to Know You game, isn't there? The Two Truths and a Lie. Surely you've done this at some corporate away day at some point. Maybe churches don't do that kind of thing, but because it's lying. But quite often...
You have to go home if you lie.
Yeah.
That's right.
But like I've done it before. You go to like corporate away days and you go around the circle and you would say, hi, I'm Brady. And you say 3 facts. And then the other people in the circle have to guess which one of those things you just said is truthful.
Yeah, we've done that. Get to know you games and so forth.
Yeah.
They're quite stressful. You spend the whole game just trying to think of something that is a lie that sounds plausible. You know what I mean? You end up saying something quite ridiculous.
I've got a good tip for people playing that game, by the way. A really good thing to trip people up is to say you were born in a country that is a little bit surprising. Because that's often like a quirky fact about people that people just fall for it and always think it's true. So I remember I was playing it once, and my one lie, I think, was that I want people to think is true. I think I said I was born in Papua New Guinea. Mm-hmm. And people are really inclined to believe that because it seems like it could be true. Oh, yeah, it's a country near Australia, and it's a weird thing.
Yeah, I got 2 or 3 friends. Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
It's a weird thing to make up, and so like you think, because it's not amazing, but it's like different. And whenever I use that as my lie, oh, I was born in Papua New Guinea, people always say, oh, that's true. I believe that's true. You were born in Papua New Guinea. And I'm like, nah. I was born in Australia. Pretty boring.
The pressure is on as well in those, not to just come up with something plausible and good, like precisely the one you've suggested, but I feel a bit of a pressure to come up with something that's kind of quirky and interesting too. You know what I mean? Like it's, oh, right, okay. So it's the balance between having an interesting story to tell and coming up with a good lie that's plausible.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, I would struggle on the suggested show with the solos, Tim, because say you and I were on and your guitar solo had played this one, and then we both had to lie. I don't feel like I have enough music knowledge and chops to bluff my way through. I actually think you probably don't either, but anyway. but I sorry.
You would win this simply because I would tell the truth, which is, oh yeah, I've been playing guitar since I was 16. And they would have, having heard that, would have gone, no, that's not this.
Yeah, and I'd say, I know nothing about music. And they'd say, oh, then you definitely played that.
That's him. That's our man.
Yeah.
I walked into a room, tripped over a guitar, and that came out. And they went, yep, that sounds like.
Yeah.
Well done.
You happy with that idea? Would you listen to that show? I bet you would listen to that show.
I would listen to it, yeah. I think it's a good idea. I think there's a bit of fun in it, particularly if it could be done... If people are good at convincing and they're, funny people can get away with convincing lying if they say something that is kind of, funny along the way as well. You sort of you kind of want it to be true because it's so funny. That's the
like, for example, with your guitar solo, I think the story that I would go for would be, I don't really play the guitar, but Money for Nothing was a song that meant a lot to me and my wife. So I had 3 weeks of lessons to try and learn to play just the start solo. And that's a recording of me playing it at our wedding. Because I think people would believe that. That sounds like someone who picked up a guitar for a few weeks and just learnt like this one bit of music to play by rote, and like, you know, that sounds like a plausible story to me. Sorry.
It is what everyone sounds like the first couple of times they have a go at a guitar solo.
Here's me playing at our wedding day, like, you know, having never really played the guitar before, but just having a few lessons with you know, Phil down the street. Since we've played that and have like immortalised it here on the Unmade podcast many times, have you like tried to play it again, or like do you play it now like properly and think, see, I am quite good at playing that, or have you never tried again and it's just like a bad memory?
I've done it on 2 occasions. One was in tribute to Joe for being my 2000s supporter.
Yeah.
And the other time was I just was playing at home, and I tried it and I stuffed it, and I thought, no, I'm not playing that again. My fingers just won't go. You have to swap fingers in a funny configuration and they don't go. And I have never practiced it through enough to get it right. So I literally went, oh, hang on.
Have your girls ever asked you to play it?
Oh, no. They've asked me to stop playing it.
They know not to let you get the guitar out.
I could put Money for Nothing on in the car and they wouldn't even go, oh, is this the one from the podcast? Like, it's too different.
Anyone who heard the Real Money for Nothing wouldn't recognise that.
That's right.
By the way, seeing we're almost out of time, surely that a reminder of your girls. Have you dropped in the words? Secret words?
Not yet. No. We need to segue back to talking.
Not yet. We've been going over an hour. Time's up.
It's not. No, time is not up. You've given me a little bit more time.
Okay.
We need to segue back to talking about the microwave again. Bring up the microwave. Yes.
All right. Well, since we're almost out of time, I'll make sure you do some research on that microwave thing so you can write your 1,000 words.
Oh, indeed. Can I ask you a question? Have you ever microwaved ice cream? Like, I remember a time.
I have. Yeah, I used to. Yeah, and you'd put put Milo over the top of it and melt it down a bit, and I've microwaved ice cream.
No. What I mean is, you microwave. You get out the ice cream and it's too hard, so you know. That's
not a good idea. I did that a week ago and it ended badly. I did that with some Ben and Jerry's the other day, and it just it destroyed it. It was a terrible mistake.
The other thing that I've seen come out of the microwave is when you think you're having ice cream and topping, and it turns out to be potato and gravy. Like it's from the other side of the room. You're like, oh wow, and then it's just like, put that on the table, you know, and then it's, this is just potato. Okay. It's got that look. It's just got that perfect look to it coming out of the microwave.
Ice cream and potatoes are funny things.
Yep.
Yeah. You could go home now with your head held high.